get you thinking when you are doing your research, whether or not this information should be included in your essay. You should never just like, yeah, it's going to be there. Just don't assume that you will include it in your essay. You have to question a lot of different pieces of that writing. So this is like basic kinds of questions that you can ask. Okay, this is this is the CARS test. These are screenshots from the textbook. And then I found an actual website that has it just better organized. So I gave you both options. So the CARS test, the acronym is credibility, accuracy, reasonableness, and support. So you have to question the credibility of the source of information. So it's split onto 3 slides, and it gives you a couple different types of questions for each column. So each check of the test. So evaluating the author's credentials. So whether or not, they're a seasoned reporter, is it, what's their education background? Is it linked to the topic of the article, the website, whatever. Accuracy, so you're looking for whether or not the information is up to date. Okay, so something like, I'm trying to think of like a psychology theorist or something. Someone like Freud, that's not necessarily something that we still use and reference him, but you're not going to find any up-to-date information from him because he's not here anymore. So it's whether or not the information needs to be current. So up to date is depending on your field, discipline, the area of study. Some things, even if they date back, 10, 20, 30, however many years, they can still be accurate. But that's just something to question. If I was reading articles today for work, and I happened on an article that exactly answered my question, but it was 3 years old. And I know that in that time frame, that answer has changed. So it's not current for my needs. So that's something to keep in mind. The third step check, reasonableness, is, do you think it's fair? So you're really looking for something that's objective, that tries as much as possible to stay objective. There's no or very little bias in the information presented. So something like, is it neutral? And if it leans towards one side of an argument, does it present the counter argument as well? So that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean that the source is not reasonable or that you can't use it if you can't check all of these boxes and answer yes to everything. It's just getting you to second guess yourself, but second guess the validity of the information. And then for support, so where does the information come from is another question that you can ask. So if it references statistics, do we know exactly where it is and could we find it elsewhere? That's something to keep in mind for sure. Beth, the stats is going to depend on like the topic and the theme. So if it's something like it's very on a case-by-case basis, it's going to depend on the theme of your thesis. And it's going to depend on the discipline, especially if you're not sure and you're writing, not for me because I won't know your specific disciplines, but like for me, when I was in my law and justice courses, anything within the last couple of years we could still use. But let's say we were referencing I'm pretty sure she went to go get a ball. But let's say we're referencing a particular law that hasn't had any major updates. Well, that could be 30 years old and still be relevant to the argument. So the stats, it's going to depend on how you're using them in your essay. I know that doesn't answer your question. Normally anything within the last, I'd say 5 years for statistics, but even then that's like if it's a census only happens once every, I don't know how many years. So something like that, obviously you're going to take the most recent version of that particular survey. So it really is going to depend on what it is you're using the stats for and how old they are. But generally speaking, I'd say like in the last 5 years, you should be on the safer side. Yeah, that's all I got for you on that one. Sorry. Unless someone else has something else to add, or they've been told something different from a prof, or they know like the time frame that's acceptable in your particular discipline, which if you don't, it is something to kind of question. But that's as vague as I can be for that particular question.
It was more of a comparison of stats between two different dates. But originally I found one that was like 10 years. I'm like, that's kind of long.
So. Yeah, like that. Again, it's gonna, as long as that little like alarm bell goes off and you're starting to question the fact that, it's 10 years old. If you legitimately can't find anything else, I wouldn't say don't include it, especially if it's going to support your argument or your ideas. And to be honest, I'm personally not going to go back that far, but generally speaking, 10 years is going to be a little bit iffy, like especially, for statistics. Like, I don't know if the statistic is related to like population. That might, I'm sure there's something more accurate than that, but yeah, sorry. She's really excited tonight. How many sources should we be including in our essay? Is there a minimum we should shoot for? No, I don't have a number in mind, and I don't have something specific to give you because this is going to be my answer tonight. It's going to depend. I mean, I don't necessarily expect like pages of sources in a bibliography. If you want numbers, I'd say 2 to 3 per argument. So you'd be looking at roughly maybe 8 to 10 different sources, which can vary in like the type. So if you have one that's like less credible but still supports, that's okay. Ideally, I'd like to see at least half of your sources be more on the academic, peer-reviewed, academic journal type line. But unless there's something that I'm really going to question, does that help with like an 8 to 10 type range? Like some people are going to be able to find tons of research and they're going to want to source everything, and that's okay. But let's say minimum about, so what did I say? 3, 4 per argument. So twice is enough. So about 8 to 10 total for your essay. That's a good number to kind of strive for. And the other thing is, reminder that the research is there to support your point. It doesn't become like the basis of the whole essay. So my profs used to give me you have a 6-page essay, so it's not the same context, but they used to give me, I don't want to see more than 2 citations per page, because that gave you an indication that, okay, this is mostly my words and here's the proof and the evidence, versus if you have too many sources per page, too many quotes per page, how much did you actually write? So for me, I'm more worried about that, making sure that within a particular page, you don't have too many sources or citations on that page versus total essay. Yeah, so that sounds perfect, Jesse. But again, you don't have to have them all be peer reviewed. I know I put a lot of focus on that on Tuesday, but don't shy away from websites, because I showed you the databases. Obviously, websites are going to come and support your argument as well. So you can have a varied range of sources or types of sources. So the CARS test keeps going to quality control, summary. So different ways that you can test the credibility, different ways that you can test the accuracy. So the reasonableness and the support. So anytime, specifically for support, anytime they're going back to Beth's example, let's say if she would have been reading an article with statistics, do they actually reference where the stats come from? Is it something that you can then go Google if it's online and they can link, and they linked it directly? Can you actually click on that link and it sends you to where it says it's supposed to send you, and you can compare, what they wrote in the article is exactly what they wrote in the original source that they're quoting. So those are the types of things that you can question and kind of click through if you're online anyways. So those are checks for support specifically. And then this final one of just things that should make you question the validity again a little bit more. So all like the reverse of what I just said. So that's CARS, C-A-R-S. Then I Googled because I was super curious to see what other tests are out there, or checklists or whatever. So there's a whole bunch of different acronyms. So CARS is the one that I'm showing you. I'm going to go back here for a second. So this is a link to a website that explains exactly what I just said. Then we have a different acronym that's CRAP. Did not pick that acronym. And then we have CRAP 1A, CRAP 2As. So these are 3 different checklists, not different. They're basically all the same types of questions. They've just used different acronyms. So you can click on any of these. So some of them are worksheets that actually are clickable and fillable. So here they have currency, which goes back to accuracy in the other one. So relevance, authority, accuracy, purpose. So they're all going to be very similar in the types of information or things that they're going to get you to recommend that you question. They've just organized them all based on different acronyms. So any one of these would be a good way for you to just kind of have a checklist in the back of your mind when you're deciding whether or not you're going to include information in an essay or any kind of academic paper. So this one is the CRAP test with 2 A's. This one is 1A. So this one isn't necessarily a checklist, but it has all of the info about each of the steps. And then there's a couple more. 3 more, there we go. So all of these are additional resources. So I tried to put the checklist and the more useful practical pieces at the top. And then the rest of them are just different versions, more or less the same. So they look identical. Not identical, they look very similar. So any one of those are good resources for you to have when you have something in front of you and you're not sure whether or not it's credible. So that all ties into checklist tests. And then just briefly, can I go back? Oh, so cool. So in the last, 5 years, we had this emergence of fake news and disinformation and all of those pieces that I don't want to get into the big details of this entire, I don't want to say movement, but this new something else to take into consideration. So this is a Spot the Fake News. It's an article with a little quiz to see if you're questioning the information in front of you. So going back to, this is from 2016, so it most likely is not the most current, but it's because it's the only one that I found that had an actual little quiz that you can take where they give you a source, they give you information and a source, and it's whether or not you think that it's a credible source of information. So the quiz is at the bottom. So here would be, and again, it all mostly ties into a particular person. But so things like this. So the fact that it comes from the New York Times video account. And this is the information in front of you. So what is this? So those are the types of things that you could question. It's fun to do. I failed the test if anyone's curious. But that's one way. So there's this whole new piece of fake news that you also have to question. So something that you can't verify the claims, or the claim, what is being presented to you can be actually disproved. So all of those pieces play into the information that you're going to be using specifically for academic papers. So make sure that that's also something that you're considering. And this one hit me a lot. It's fake news or disinformation might pull towards emotion or opinions a lot more. So again, it's this whole idea of questioning the source of what the information is actually telling you, but also the source of the information. So it's super important to do that because, admittedly, nowadays it is a lot more difficult to figure out, and there might actually be a lot more steps involved in analyzing that source of information. So a bunch more guides. Some of these are videos in case you're super, super curious about how to kind of identify what's not real. So just something else to keep in mind. Okay. Nope. Yeah. All right. Oops. I didn't mean to show you that first, but okay. So that was the last piece that I wanted to just like kind of wrap up when it comes to your sources and the information that you're going to be putting into your outlines and or essays. Any questions about the outlines for tomorrow? Is there anything that's not clear? You know what you're doing, you know what you're submitting for tomorrow, you know where you're submitting it for tomorrow. My boxes don't add up to the number. Okay. All right. So before we get into the debates, so that's the last piece of the course content that's going to be linked to these thinking skills. And I don't know how many of you remember, but the debates, there are assigned debates as part of this course. So normally they're in person. This is the first time we're going to try them online. So this will be a learning process for everyone. But the debates is basically what you're doing in the argumentative essay, but in presentation format. So it's really the fact that we're focusing more on collaboration and working together as a team to debate a particular topic. So I'm going to present it now, and I wanted to present it before reading week so that hopefully you guys can use reading week to get together and maybe create screen. Okay. So, nope. Okay. For the debates, which is putting all of these wonderful thinking skills into practice, if you go into the assignment section of D2L, there's the debates criteria and the debates rubric. So I'm just going to go through this with you now. And then I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. We'll do the timeline first. So the timeline is reading week is next week. So you will be assigned your groups today. And then you are going to hopefully get together initially and kind of figure out what you're going to do. And then the actual presentations of the debates will take place the week of March, which was, anyways, March break switched months now, but this would have been March break. So the debate presentations, the actual oral presentation piece will take place the week of the 16th. So we will take both classes and present. That's all we're doing for that week. And I decided that because I know everyone is super busy and I wasn't really sure what to expect for an online environment, the week prior to, I'm putting it aside as debates preparation. So I'm giving you the full 3 hours of class time that week to work on your debates. So I will be logged in and I will be there in case you guys need any kind of questions or clarifications or guidance or whatever. But the week prior to, I'm giving you the class time to work on the debates. Does that mean you can get everything done in 3 hours? No. But I understand that everyone has really busy schedules and probably a lot of different things on the go. So I wanted to make sure that you have at least 3 hours within that week before to finalize things and kind of get everything prepared for the week of the presentations. So that's where we're headed in the next, I guess, month, since we're already mid-February. So you will be assigned your groups tonight. And then no class time for it, but preparation for the debates the week before. So what am I talking about? The debates, again, under assignment, debates criteria. So the debates themselves are going to be worth 10% of your final grade. That is the work that you're doing as a group to debate your position. So whether you are for or against the topic. So half of you will be presenting for something and half of you will be presenting the opposite argument against. So I'm not I'm not there to question or to evaluate your oral presentation skills necessarily. It's whether or not you guys as a group can argue your position. So that's what I'm looking for, is that it flows kind of like your argumentative essays, where you are presenting valid arguments on that particular topic. So it's kind of like I don't want to say a second essay, but sort of. You're just going to be having to react and counter argue based on something that's happening in front of you live. So that's the one piece that the debates add, is that you need to anticipate what the other side is going to present and be prepared with counter arguments for that. So the debate is, you want to win the argument. You want to win. You want to prove with valid arguments, or not prove, but like you want to, I don't want to say convince, but convince the rest of us that that is the, I don't want to say winning side, but winning side. Sorry, my terminology right now is really questionable. So we're looking for teamwork skills. So team building, teamwork, that's what the goal of the debates is for. So that's going to be the first half of it. The first 10% or 10% of the total grade is specifically for the debate itself. Okay, so you are working on teamwork skills. So we're going to go through that in this week here, diversity and communication. We're going to go over a little bit more specifics about that, how to communicate, how to be how to develop your communication skills, but also how to communicate within a group. So this has been here this whole time for you to refer to. So these are the types of skills that I'm looking for in the debates. I've added some etiquette. So these are just reminders that you are arguing facts and not people. So this is very much based in research and support. This is not opinion based. So I had these there for now because took me a while to figure out. There are going to be different roles that you can assign. So these are the types of things that I'm hoping you guys can kind of work out during reading week. So figuring out who's going to do what parts of the essay, who's going to be a researcher, who's going to kind of gather the ideas, all of those pieces. So I've kind of listed out some of the roles that you could assign within your group. But this is really me evaluating how you guys can form an effective group, how you can work as a team for this common goal of the debate. So it's hands-off in the sense that you guys kind of have to figure this out for yourselves, because that's what you're going to be assigned in work situations. In other situations, I know that sometimes you get to pick your partners and this and that, but it's really, how do I work and collaborate with these other people for this particular purpose? So that's the goal. So these are the types of things that you can start figuring out now as a group. And then I'll check in with you probably at the midway point to see how it's going. And then you'll have final preparations the week before the debates. So these are options of ways that you can go about organizing yourselves, but it's not the only way, because you're going to figure out your own ways of communicating, your own ways of sharing information, of whatever you guys are going to do. I've got students who use apps that I've never even heard of. Some work in Google Docs. So figure those pieces out now to set yourself up, because you're going to have a lot of things on the go. And I realize that, so I'm sorry in advance. So the debate structure, this is generally more or less what I'm expecting. So you're going to have 10 to 15 minutes of you arguing your position. And then the other team will have the 10 minutes to argue their position. Then what's going to happen is you guys are going to go back into your corners and you're going to discuss what the other side said and how you can counter what was said. So you present, then you listen to the other presentation, who the other group is presenting the other side of the same argument. Then you're going to have about 15 minutes as a group to prepare your counter arguments based on what was said. And then you're going to present your counter argument. So that's the structure of the debates. So overall, you're talking for maybe 20, 25 minutes. but there's a piece in there where you have to, as a group, analyze what the other side said, and have responses for those pieces based on what was said, not how it was said or who said it, but based on the argument that was presented to you. So that's what I'm expecting, and that's the general structure that we're aiming for the debates. I still have some logistics to figure out, but I wanted to present at least the general idea now so that you have that in mind when I assign the groups. So the second piece is, so one, it's work together to effectively debate a topic. The second piece is actually self-reflecting and reflecting on the work of others in the context of working as a group. So how did you contribute? How effective were you as a group member? But also, how did everyone else work together? So those are going to be anonymous. They're your group mates, your teammates are not going to see this piece, but you're going to have to reflect on everyone that was involved and their level of involvement. But it's very structured. There's a specific set of questions that I'm looking for you to answer. So the peer reflection this is the information that I'm looking for you to answer. So I have them split up on different slides, but this is the information that I'm looking for you to evaluate of your teammates, of your classmates. So overall, how did you work as a group? And then this is where some students stay super vague and some students name me exactly what each person did. You can go about it the way you want, but overall, what were the behaviors and attitudes of the team? Was there anything that was particularly positive or negative? And then more specifically, how did you contribute? What were your strengths? What can you improve upon if you're ever assigned another group assignment? And then overall, what kind of, hopefully there's some learning involved that you can carry towards your future group collaborations assignments. So that's what I'm looking for in the second piece. So half of your grade for the debates is on the debate itself, the arguments that you presented as a group. The other half is on how you can reflect on the experience as a whole and how are you going to improve in future scenarios and future contexts like this. All right, so this was there from the beginning, but I didn't actually present it yet. So this is me going over them. I will go over this again in a few weeks, but I want you to have that, like you're starting to think about this. And I know you have a lot of things on the go, but we're going to keep adding to it. So this is what the debate assignment looks like. Okay, so under assignments, debates, criteria, and then that was the right arrow. The rubric. So what I'm looking for in the debate piece, so the actual debate where you're going to be arguing your position, this is what I'm looking for as a group. Were you able to demonstrate these pieces? So it's not an individual assignment for the first half, it's as a team, how did you work well together? So you're going to get a team grade, a team a team mark for that piece, and then the self and peer reflections. The only time that I will step in is if as a whole, as a group, certain people were not as effective or did not work as a group. That'll play into that particular person's final grade, versus you're not going to be graded not unfairly, but the overall grade represents the overall work of everyone, not one particular person that brings you, I don't want to say brings you down, but that won't negatively affect a grade for anyone. So don't stress about that piece. Okay, so the rubric is here and the criteria is there as well. So that's where we're headed for the debates the week of March 15th. Okay, so that's when you're presenting. The prep is the week before. Okay, any questions about the debates? Or am I just like overwhelming you with information right now and you have to absorb it? Okay, if you have any immediate concerns, questions, you can send me an email, private chat. We can have a discussion after class or a meeting. Just, you have to let me know. Okay, so this is something where I'm still going to be here to supervise and like oversee everything, but a lot of this hopefully is you developing mostly for skills you already have, but further developing skills related to working as a group. Knowing that I've also been assigned, I was a student, I was assigned groups. I know how group dynamics work, but I want to see as a whole, how can you overcome some of the pieces that are involved, and how well you can argue the particular topic. Okay, there's no questions at the moment that I can see. I hope you're all digesting and you're not just scared. All right, so the next piece is what the topic of the debate is. So you're going to be in 4 groups. So we're going to do this twice. The reason being, I don't know that coordinating, you're technically 20 in this class, like 20 registrations, but consistently you've been 12 or 13 that can just consistently come. So technically 6 and 6 works. So we can have 2 groups of 6, but right now 3 êtes 13. So a group of 6 and a group of 7. The math doesn't work no matter how we slice this. So I thought, and what I've always done in the past is we do 4 groups of 3 to 4. It's easier to manage. It's easier to coordinate all of like the work and meetings and whatever it is you're gonna structure together. And it's this, everybody has the same topic. So two groups are going to be the positive, the 4. 2 groups are going to be against, and you're just going to debate one of the 2. Like groups 1 and 3 will debate, and groups 2 and 4 will debate each other, all on the same topic. In the past, I have assigned the topics, and I don't know how this will work. This year, I have a couple different options. So I'm wanting to see if there's one, I don't know why, but I can't figure out how to do a cloud. But I'm not. So that I should have just created a poll external to Zoom. Okay, sorry, this is the quickest way I know how to do it. So we're just gonna go like this. I say quick and I realize it's not quicker, but I didn't need to log into something or. Okay. Oh, good Lord. Okay, let's see if this works. Restricted. Okay. All right. If this doesn't work, I'm open to suggestions. Well, let's see. So if I do this, can you all access the Google Docs and put an X or something next to the topic that you would want to debate? Okay, so there's 5 options. Please tell me it worked. No. Oh, hang on. Okay, updating the link. So that should have worked a little bit better in case some of you weren't logged into your Laurentian accounts. As long as you have the link, you should be able to add your vote. So take a few minutes. These are the 5 options. If you have other suggestions, I'm open to that as well. But I tried to pick things that are vague enough that you can. Beirut, did you try now? I think I fixed the access. Common enough topics that you can find the research for it, but not too specific that it's too narrow, if that makes any sense. So I found all single-use plastic should be banned. I know that that's recent enough that you should be able to find information on that topic. Technology has improved productivity, so they're vague in that within your debates, you can figure out the spin you're going to take on what do I mean by technology? What do I mean by standardized testing? So those are things that you would specify within the debate itself. So try to keep them broad enough that you couldn't interpret them differently. So then artificial trans fat should be banned, standardized testing should be abolished, and social media has improved human interactions. So no, so it's not is it letting you add anything to the document? If you guys put like an X or something, not letting you do anything? Ugh, sorry. Okay. I will create an actual poll. I should have done that in the first place, but I thought Zoom would let me. And I will send you guys an actual poll. So this will be to be determined for the topics. I should have known better. Online polling. Okay. I don't have an account for anything to be able to I have to create an account for a poll. Okay, apologies. My quick fix wasn't quick.
There's a crazy thought because we all have mics.
Listen, if you guys want to say it right now,
you can put the X in the box for us.
Why is it?
I
cannot still put an X in a box.
If you can. Sorry, Justin. If you go to insert like a character, then it allows you to insert whatever character.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, here we go. Oh, look it. We see some X's. Okay. Nobody wants to talk about artificial trans fat. Okay. Cat says this. I think that there's going to be a clear winner, but I'll make it like an official poll or something.
I feel like nobody wants to debate artificial trans fats because everybody already knows they're bad. Nobody wants to argue that they're good for you because, you know.
I never consider yeah, I can see why that happened. Okay. As much as we have single-use plastic and technology with votes, overall this social media, which is what I had, that's the actual topic that I assigned every year for the last 3 years. But
Change it up.
Pardon?
Change it up.
I thought I would open it up to maybe see if anyone wanted to do something else, but
it's because it's an easy topic to argue. That's why.
It is, but it isn't. That was why I had picked something like this, because everyone clearly was like, yeah, this is absolutely a good thing, and everyone you saw the positives way before you saw the negatives. But
unless you're a really old person, then you could already see the negatives because you've seen people before and after.
Potentially, yeah. But this is why I picked this one, because everyone in their minds is like, well, yes, of course it has improved human interactions. But one, it goes back to the whole what is and what do we think of? What does the social media mean, first of all? And also keep in mind, because it is a debate, even though your presentation of arguments in your head might seem easier because of course it has improved human interactions, you also have to be prepared for the counter argument. So even though your group and your position is for it, you still have to consider the against pieces, because you have to be able to counter what the other team is going to debate. So yes, for most students, they see the advantages are very clear in their minds, and that's why they tend to pick it or tend to like the topic. This is the first time I let people pick. So it looks like that's what it will be. That being said, screen one, the last thing I want to show you obviously is the actual, oh, sorry, everything moved over to there. The actual teams. So this is what, based on the 2 breakout rooms that we've done, I tried to kind of see who shows up, who participates, and the dynamics of the different breakout rooms. And based on that, this is what I ended up with. So Emmanuel, Katie, Madi, Luis, and Syed, who I don't know if anyone knows this person, but they have yet to show up. You are going to be for social media has absolutely positively impacted human interactions. So you're group 1 facing off or debating against group 3. So we have Justin, Shamar, Ethan, Precious, and Jaskiran on the against side. These were predetermined before you picked your topic. Just remember that. The other team that's 4 is going to be Beth, Jesse, Sam, Jessica, Romeo, that are going to go against Beiruz, Devin, Akemini, Alex, and Stephanie. So these are your groups. Again, try it out, figure something out over the reading week, and I will reassess after reading week to see, one, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that for every single one of your groups, there's going to be one person at least that may not participate. So keep that in mind. I tried to see that you're all going to be more or less 3 or 4, but we might have some surprises and you might have a full team of 5. So take reading week to, now that we have a topic that's more or less been decided, kind of figure out where you're at with the topic for the debate, get to know your group members, figure out a system for communicating. It can be through any of our Google stuff within Laurentian, or it can be totally separate from Laurentian accounts. That's fine. Just keep in mind that not everyone has access to all of the pieces. So figure out a system for you. And then we will reassess after reading week, because hopefully you have time next week to figure this out. I don't know what your reading weeks look like, but this is where we're headed for the debate. So I'm going to post this on D2L, so you'll have access to your teams. I don't know if you want me to set up something in D2L Brightspace to have like a group area, or if you want like to depose to submit things, or if you just want to figure it all out yourself. I will help with whatever technology piece I can. But like I said, normally students, either they do like a Facebook Messenger group or a WhatsApp. Is that what it's called? Some kind of app to figure things out. Or now old school is a Google Doc at this point, because everyone has other ways of gathering information. So figure out a system that works for you. And let me know over the next week if there are any major concerns, because I do still want to set everyone up for success. So give everyone about a week-ish to get situated within their groups. But I'm here if you have any questions. All right, so those are the groups. They will be in D2L. That is the end of what I wanted to present tonight, keeping in mind that I told you I wanted to end early, so that if you have any immediate concerns about the outlines and or the debates, I'll be online for the next half hour to go through anything pressing. Otherwise, that's it for the critical, creative, practical thinking skills linked to the research skills that you're going to hopefully employ all of them, utilize for your argumentative essay, with the outlines being due tomorrow by midnight. All right. So if there are no other questions, I'm wishing you the absolute best long weekend ever, because we all deserve it. And I hope that you can rest and be productive during your reading week or whatever your plans are. I hope that they go well. All right. So just enjoy, and I will see you in a week. All right. So happy Friday Eve to everybody, and I will see you later. Good night.